Craig Hemingway, Communications Manager for the City of Moose Jaw. Welcome to another edition of the Notorious Jawcast, and glad to be joined by Moose Jaw Mayor Fraser Tolmie and our City Manager Jim Puffalt, who appears to be coming us from the Starship Enterprise. Mr. Puffalt.
Live long and prosper. I do that, I can't. So embarrassed to say.
Well, listen, hey, speaking of stars, we have to start with a really neat surprise we received yesterday, or on May 14th, I should say, depending on what day you're watching this. Our friends at Skip the Dishes, who famously had John Hamm mention Moose Jaw in a commercial last year, which our mayor then famously followed up with an invite to John Hamm to be a citizen of the city of Moose Jaw. Well, they went and released a video with John Hamm mentioning us for not only being generous in our city for tipping, but also mentioning that Mayor told me he may take him up on being a Moose Jaw citizen. What a nice surprise, right, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, that's great. It's great for our community. We've been able to benefit from some of the the name drops and also Mac the Moose this last year. So that this is kind of continuing on in a different phase. It really is a credit to our city for our name. Our Notorious name, for the creative group that helped with the video, and raising the city's profile. So we're very proud of our community and all the work and efforts. So I'm glad that the city's getting recognized for that.
Well, it's great. And, reaction around here, of course, around the city has been tremendously positive, and a real nice morale boost for us to get that kind of recognition during this time of COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think I've said this numerous times, but you're just not sure who hears it. But we're really proud of our community for the way that they've reacted. They've been very disciplined in keeping the COVID numbers down. In fact, zero here. But, the province in itself has been very disciplined in flattening the curve. There's no cure to this disease. We don't know when the end of this pandemic is going to happen, but we've been vigilant, and our business community has been so amazing, meeting on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for a think tank, and how they have adapted to being able to go online. And that's important. We need to, we've been part of that for the last 3.5 years, where we've been talking to the business community and saying, hey, we've got to adapt. We've got a special downtown, and people come to the city to experience the downtown. So there is a shopping experience, but you can complement that with an online experience as well. And so that's important messaging, and that's important for our business. People that go into business are very creative. They're passionate. And they're innovative, and so using technology at your hand, like what we're doing right now with this Jawcast, is amazing. And so I'm proud of the business community.
We can't wait, Craig. We can't wait to get them back downtown. They're opening up on Tuesday. I mean, I've been looking out my window for the last 2 weeks, and there's nobody downtown. So that's unusual for us. So it's exciting that we'll have vehicles and people moving around downtown again. We can't wait. We're ready. We've been sweeping the streets and washing the sidewalks. Come on downtown Moose Jaw, man. We're open. We're ready for you.
And parking, of course, parking fees waived, which was a decision of council a few weeks ago. One of the many measures that have been taken by our council and related to COVID-19, and a couple more occurred at the May 11th council meeting. And Mayor Tolmie, I'll start with the Small Business Support Program, which applications have just opened for that. A one-time $500 grant to small businesses during this time, and there are certain criteria which Mr. Puffalt will go over just in a little bit. But I just want to go over the decision for that, Mr. Mayor. It was a 4-3 vote with council, and some wondering if maybe those programs aren't better for just the federal and provincial governments to look after. So from your perspective, I'd just like to hear your reasoning for championing this idea.
Well, I think the credit should go to Councillor Looning. I mean, she crafted the motion, and it was something that she was passionate about. She's been part of the downtown business group, and she's been in communication with them, and we've been in communication with the Chamber of Commerce. And I think one of the ideas around this is that we need to look at the businesses on the front end, the existing businesses within our community. And, they have been taxpayers, they have contributed, they can, Councillor Eby had mentioned how they contribute to, soccer teams or hockey teams, or, they're sponsors. And so you want to retain the business. So it's better to help them on the front end. And I know it's only $500, but I'd rather do that on the front end and keep those businesses going that have been passionate, that have been contributing to our community, than on the tail end, and where you've got to try and now attract businesses because you've got storefronts that are empty. And it's important for us to look at that, and that's part of our business retention and expansion plans within our community, and it fits in with our strategic plans. So I am glad that the majority of council has voted for this, and we do care about the business community. You have to also remember those small business owners are also taxpayers in their homes. They have to pay for taxes for their homes, so they're paying twice. So it's not going to help everybody, and not every community is going to be able to do that. We do have a bit of a surplus, and so we've been able to dip into that, but not every city is going to be able to help their business community like the city of Moose Jaw has. So I think that's important to know.
Our planning and economic development departments went through and figured out a roughly 315 businesses so would be eligible for this program. And Mr. Puffalt, I'll throw it to you. We said applications are underway. Can you divulge a couple of the criteria that will apply here?
For sure. We, in work with council, the thought premise is that we wanted to get some funding to those businesses that were forced to be closed down due to COVID-19. And those were based upon the government of Saskatchewan's medical health officer orders that were submitted in March. And so those are the businesses that we were looking at that, through no fault of their own, they can't be open, or they're severely curtailed as to what they can do. So those are the businesses we want to get to. They're smaller size businesses. There are category A or category B in our business licensing bylaw, and it's based upon amount of sales. And so all our details are up on our website, so we encourage everybody to take a look. If you're a category A or B, take a look. The applications are there. They're fairly straightforward. We fully expect that these businesses have applied to the province and the federal governments for assistance, because there's a number of programs through there, and that those will be the way that we'll get means on that. And so we believe that one of the federal government programs is a 70% revenue cut from previous year. And so that's the type of issue that we want to get to. We wanted to get to a program that would get money in the hands of the businesses that really needed it, and not ones that, and we know there's been businesses that have been very busy, grocery stores, for example. They have not been curtailed. They have, a lot more disinfection and protective measures that they have to take, but they've been able to stay open. And in that case, those were ones that, we didn't believe that they had a major reduction in revenues, and that the $500 from the city would not go a long ways to giving them a hand. And again, we're trying to get money into the hands of the people that absolutely need it. And as his worship says, these small business owners, they pay property taxes. They pay property taxes on their residences, and that's the ones we want to get to.
And that, as we said, if every business were to get that credit, it'd be a little over $150,000. And the measures taken by council at the May 11th meeting added up to over $800,000. Of course, the big chunk of that coming with a reduction of the property tax rate, which we, for the first time ever, the city of Moose Jaw got a budget approved before the next year began. That was back in December, and circumstances dictate. But so it went from 2.3% down to zero. Mayor Tolmie, how important was it to be able to reach that figure and provide that relief?
Well, I think it's very important. We are we're servants of the people of this community, and people within this community are tightening their belts, and they're facing challenges. And I have to hats off to administration for coming forward with some cost-saving measures. They are reductions. There's some things that we've had to put off. It's not easy decisions to do that. You want everything, right? And we want the streets paved with gold, and we want, but in a realistic term, we've had to face this challenge. And I think the word that keeps coming up in discussion is pivoting, and we've got to pivot and be able to be flexible. So we did come up with a budget. We were really proud of ourselves to get that done before December. We felt, oh, great, we can't wait to see what's going to happen this year. And then all of a sudden, we're dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic. And it's unfortunate because lives are changed. And so, we provide services to the community. And unfortunately, some of those services we have to cut back or we can't provide in this time, and we've made those decisions in order to release or reduce the tax burden to the citizens of this community. And so again, we appreciate the hard work that administration has put forward. Council made some tough choices, and we're moving forward at this stand. And I do need to say this, and it's not to be alarming, but we will be impacted by this COVID-19 pandemic for a couple of years. It does impact part of the municipal revenue sharing, which is the PST that we get from the province. So while there's not a lot of money being spent with PST being generated, in 2 years' time when it comes to being contributed to our budget, that will impact us at that time. So we're going to have to really look at that. And then there's just one final point. We recognize that, in the early 90s when they did, 0% tax increases to deal with the economics of the time, that also impacted the amount of infrastructure that was being done in the community. And we didn't want to do that. Yes, there is a reduction in infrastructure, but we are going to be spending money on the city to get, water mains replaced, roads paved, sidewalks done, and we are going to be getting capital infrastructure done this year.
Thank you, Mayor Tolmie. Mr. Puffalt, City Manager. We did mention, the budget got done early, and then, it got kind of blown out of the water. But would it be fair to say that there still was some benefit, because certainly some tenders for work for this summer were put out, and so when you had to revisit the budget, at least we knew some of the cost certainty, at least for some of those projects. It was far easier than to make some of those calculations in terms of what could stay and what had to be put off. Would that be fair?
I think that's fair. We had, I think I've said a couple of times, it's been a double-edged sword. We've got the budget done. We moved heaven and earth, it seems sometimes, to get the budget completed before Christmas. And we got going in January. We had tenders out early in the year. Tenders were coming back, as you've noted. And it was good to get that price certainty and know that we can hit the ground running in May long weekend. That was our goal, is to have construction start May long weekend. I think we actually started this week. So pretty exciting that we were actually able to get out in front of things and know price certainty. So when it came to the budget, we know that we had some of the work in front of us. But we also knew that we'd be able to postpone some projects, and we worked closely with council since the COVID-19 started, discussing projects and programs and what could be cut and what couldn't be cut. And when it came down to it, we have an obligation to look after our plant and our facilities and ensure that, for example, boilers are checked so they don't blow up and we have a catastrophic failure that is then very expensive to repair, and you do it on an emergency basis as compared to a planned basis. So we were able to do a lot of those things. We took immediate measures, as we've talked about in emergency. You have to take immediate measures. It may not be perfect, but you have to do what you've got to do at that time. And we have a philosophy that we do not open for business if there's no customers. We do not staff facilities if there's nobody there or no reason to be open. So unfortunately, that affected staff, and we were very sorry about that. But we couldn't open the pool anymore. The arenas were going to close fairly soon anyway, so we closed earlier. We were able to, with that closure, and again, because we had the budget done, plan, knew where we were in essence, we were able to get some of those upgrades and then the building shutdowns that we normally would have scheduled later on in the year. We're able to do that right away with our staff. And so our management team has just done a tremendous job of redeploying staff. We have cut, and again, we apologize. We want to hire everybody and get back. We hate not being able to run programs like the playground program or the outdoor pool, but we were able to redeploy our staff. We are, I think, around 12% of what we normally hire in the summer for seasonal employees. And so, again, just a tremendous job at teamwork. It's probably one of the higher functioning teams I've seen in my career, and including going through emergencies like this. So, I mean, hats off to our full team, all our staff. They have kept coming every day to work, regardless of the circumstances. We've kept safe work zones, and we've been able to take immediate measures, and then with more thought process and knowing where we think we're going to be, that, you know, end of August is when we think we'll be able to reopen things, and that all works if everybody continues to do what they're doing, you know, social distancing, staying safe, that we'll be able to weather this storm and be able to open up September 1st, and we'll be able to hit the ground running again. So, I mean, again, it's all because we're able to plan and we're doing things in a controlled, measured fashion and not reacting. We're proactive. We did our immediate things, and then we kept on going. And so, again, I can't, you know, hats off to everybody in our team, including council. Great. It's not just administration. This is council's budget as well. They gave us a lot of good direction and guidance as to areas that they thought we should look at. And we gave direction and guidance. Sorry, we never give direction. We gave guidance that, you know, just there's no feasible way to open a pool and continue to try and provide social distancing. There's just, we can't figure it out quite yet. We're trying to get an idea of what it takes and how many people it would take for us to be able to do that. We're not quite there yet, but that's something we're working on, because I mean, again, we want to be able to open up in September and ensure that when the province reduces or allows more people to be into a group, that we're able to accommodate, because people have gone a long time without having availability of services. And so we want to make sure that we're ready.
Yeah, and the Phyllis Dewar Outdoor Pool was one of the cuts announced at the council meeting on Monday night. Again, as you described, it's a lot of money, and especially if there's no guarantee we can even operate a pool, then it became, I don't want to say easy, but it certainly became an obvious one to look at. I know third-party groups also close to $160,000, and they were asked to look and provide some areas where they could cut, and so certainly that all played a role in your planning and administration's planning for presenting that to council, right? Yeah,
we had, you know, truly a tremendous thought of stewardship of resources. And again, the same thought process that we have of when we have to close facilities, we mothball them, when we're not spending the money on them. The libraries and our other third parties were doing the same type of thing. They are, you know, ensuring that the work continues behind the scenes. We know the library is providing virtual services, so that's pretty exciting. We know Walkable has a lot of activity. Walking paths are full. The campground will be opening. So we know that they're all very responsible with the public money as well. And so it's a pleasure to work with groups like that, because you're not fighting over things. We all have the same philosophy, is that we are very careful stewards of the public money, and we are not going to spend it unnecessarily.
Mayor Tolmie, looking forward now, I think you mentioned it at the start, but probably worthwhile mentioning again. I mean, advice for Moose Javians as we approach the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think, again, we are moving forward cautiously. We are doing it methodically. And again, I think it can only be said and reiterated time and time again. Please stay safe, you know, respect the social distancing, respect other people's space, but also respect their reactions to this COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody's got a different reaction to it. So there's some that really don't care. They don't think that it's really going to matter. And then there's some that are very, very concerned. And so we have to have a respect for everybody in who we encounter, and to remember that other people's their emotions are on their sleeves on some of this. So.
Okay, thank you for that. And Mr. Puffalt, a reminder, I guess, one more time, Small Business Support Program applications are open.
Their applications are open. They're available on our website, moosejaw.ca. Application deadline is June 30th. So you have some time, but don't delay. Get the information to us. We want to make sure that we can process and get the money back out into your hands as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Anything we've missed?
No.
Thanks.
Thank you for allowing us the opportunity, and it's again, we look forward to being able to reopen everything to people as soon as possible.
All right, well, thank you both, and thank you for joining us on the Notorious Jawcast, the official podcast, videocast now of the city of Moose Jaw.
There we go.
Stay safe.